Hi, welcome to our Exegetical Task video number 15. In this video, we'll be giving you instructions on how to write your exegetical paper. Be sure to turn in the Exegetical Task list to Task 15, Exegetical Paper. The goal here is to organize. You've been doing all of these exegetical tasks, 1 to 14. You've got lots of information. This task is to organize this into a paper that's presentable and useful perhaps for publication if you want to go that route. Okay? Organize this work into an exegetical paper that proceeds in an orderly fashion and communicates your understanding of this passage to others. You need to read Fee 13 to 15 for this. These are the sections that deal with writing an exegetical paper. I'm going to transition here to the PowerPoint at this time. Be sure to follow along in your student task list and make notes as needed. All right. The presentation here is going to put together everything that you've pulled out so far, the internal things and external things alike. The goal of this paper is to put this together. It might take the form of a scholarly article or a section within a commentary or a sermon or a Bible lesson. These are different forms that it can take. Okay? But it's going to have some flow to it, a certain amount of material going in a certain order. Be sure to read the sections in Fee that we mentioned. We talked about it having a certain flow in logic. You're going to use the material from every step to construct this, from step 1, task 1, all the way to task 14. You will have many things left over. It's okay. You could write a number of papers from the stuff that you've pulled together. You could write a much bigger paper than we're going to require you to write. I think I've done this a few times, and some of my papers were 60 pages. You're not going to do something that big. All right? So you'll have many things left over that you won't use, but you could use them on a later piece that you might write. All right. Here's the flow, the format. You need an introduction. You need to describe the main problem of your paragraph. What is the main problem? Not a problem you thought was in the paragraph, but what problem is Paul writing to the Galatians about in your paragraph? You need a half page roughly on that. All right, this could be a key issue. This could be the significance of the passage. This could be a major controversy. In section 1, which is the next section after the intro, you're going to write the historical and literary context. This is 1 to 2 pages. Now, you created a bunch of summary paragraphs and write-ups from some of your steps that were related to both historical and literary context. You're going to use those to build this section of 1 to 2 pages. Tasks 2, 4, and 5 all provide material for this section. So you want to pull those sections out and use them. You could drop them in verbatim if they were written well enough. Even if so, you still might want to go back through it and edit them just a little bit to make sure everything's flowing smoothly from section to section. All right? Section 2 is an overview of your passage, 1 to 2 pages. Task 11 goes here, either verbatim or tweaked a bit. Your task 11 is the one where you did the overview, right? If you're not up to 2 pages, you might have to do some additional stuff there. Depends on how thorough your task 11 was. Section 3 is the exegesis. This is the main body of your paper. This is typically 8 pages or more. I don't like to put an upper limit on it because it's limited to the kind of stuff you're digging and what you want to accomplish. All right? Use what you wrote for step 11 as a frame for this section. So every piece of step 11 is going to give you another point in your section 3, so to speak. So step 11, you have everything condensed. Here you're going to blow it apart and add all kinds of supporting information in there. Trace the argument clause by clause, incorporating your observations along the way from sentence flow, step 7, translation comparison, step 6, textual matter, step 8, grammar, step 9, word meaning, step 10, A, B, and C, rhetoric, step 12, and theology, that should be a 13. All right. As you're looking at these, you're using all of those steps to pull in supporting information for every little. I would take, step 11, break it up clause by clause, and use each clause as a header within the body of your exegesis paper. Then you've got this clause from step 7, or maybe even shorter, just a prepositional phrase or something. Sometimes you need a shorter piece. And then use that to start your section, a subsection of section 3. And then anything that's relevant to that clause from all these steps, get it in there, and then give the next clause and do the same thing. That's kind of the flow. If you look at commentaries, that's how they do it. They go clause by clause or phrase by phrase through the section. And you're doing a mini commentary on one paragraph. All right. Highlights from the commentaries and articles from step 14 should be interspersed throughout where they fit. You're using 11 as the frame, but you're using all the other steps to provide information to fill in the frame for this section. All right, your written paragraphs or subsections of the body should mirror your clauses from your sentence flow in step 7. Talking about cohesiveness in what you've done. If you're finding that things aren't very cohesive, you may need to go back and tweak some of your earlier steps. Not only are you going to write this as a paper, but you're also going to present the paper or a portion of the paper to the class. Now, if your paper is running something like 15, 20 pages by the time you're done, you're not going to have time to do all of that inside of a presentation. So what you might want to do for the presentation is summarize your paper. Summarize the key points and the contributions or something like that as you present it to class. All right? You're going to outline it and say only what's important to explain what the passage means. So if you've got fluff, if you tend to have a writing issue of putting in fluff, get rid of the fluff, because this is going to already be lots of material. So you want to say it as succinctly as you can and keep moving on, highlighting what's important. Do not quote heavily from the commentaries. If a commentary makes a point, you make the point and then cite them as a reference. Don't quote from them. The wording they chose is because of the packaging that's around the phrase, and they had it worded a certain way to fit what it was with. Ripping out a quotation and shoving it in your paper where it doesn't fit well doesn't do you a service. So it's better to summarize or reword what's in the commentary and then just simply cite them as a point of reference rather than quote from them. You just provide the citation. And you want everything to be your words, at least your editing of the words in your paper. All right? Conclusion, it'll be a half page. You don't need to say a whole lot there. You could highlight the contributions of your work, your paper here in the conclusion. You can summarize your observations as well, point out key contributions that you would make to any available commentaries. In other words, you kind of presuppose, if only my article or my paper had been around, perhaps commentaries would have tweaked this just a little bit. And then, or you could word it a different way. Now that your paper is in existence, future commentaries might edit or tweak or steer this section just a slight bit different in light of what you've done. And this depends on what you did, obviously. But point out the key contributions that your analysis would make to a particular commentary. Apply the meaning that you discovered to Christians of today. In other words, in your conclusion, in that half page, try to make some applicational move. Now, if your goal was to create a sermon, or your goal is ministry here, you may want to develop this applicational bit a bit more than just a half page. Or you may want to use some of the application of this as a focus assignment, as a separate focus assignment, so that you can get more out of what you've done here towards sermon development. All right. General advice is to write the body first. This seems odd. It seems like you should write the introduction first and then move in order of sections. No. You should always, in a big paper like this, write the center first. Get the main body out there, because you're always going to have to tweak the introduction and conclusion depending on what's going on in the body. So after you've written the body, you will write better introductions and conclusions. So think about that as you work on the paper. All right. Provide a full bibliography section, including commentaries, dictionaries, and articles. it's a good practice. Remember, you're the subject expert on your passage. Handle the information you read as potential evidence that must be critically evaluated before being used. You're going to be the expert on your passage by the time you finish this. So treat the research project that way. I can provide a sample paper for you to look at if you like. I think maybe some other sample papers might already be available as well, but I can also provide one. Our meeting next time will be to check on progress that you made on the research, because we have 2 weeks before you have to present these to class and turn them in. So that in-between week, we're going to have a final exam. It's not going to take the whole period. And then the rest of that time we're going to be using to check on your progress and sort out any problems that you may have, especially if you're not finding something you need or you're having difficulty collating what you have into something readable. All right, that's the end of our video. I wish you the best on putting this all together. This is the largest effort of the class, is to be able to consolidate all of the varied materials into one paper and say something about your passage. But this is also the most rewarding part of this class. We didn't do all these little steps randomly or because we were trying to be hither and thither and yon. We did these steps because they all contribute and can contribute to a nice all-around paper. And we can say something definitively about our passage. In theory, if every paragraph in the book was being handled by somebody like yourself, in essence, the collection of all the students' work, or all the scholars' work, could constitute, in theory, a commentary. Somebody would need to edit it and add general introduction and conclusion. But yeah, that's kind of the idea here. There's different applications of the material, but commenting on the biblical text is the focus of an exegesis project. Blessings to you all. May God bless you richly. And we'll meet again next time for the final exam and a discussion of your progress on the exegesis paper.